One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One of the more interesting stories I think that's come out of the Citadel of late is, of course, Mike Houston, who was your head football coach for 2 seasons and won a national championship with James Madison here recently. And you turned to Brent Thompson as soon as Mike went to James Madison. I'm curious about evaluating head coaches and hiring head coaches at the mid-major level or the FCS level. And, I asked Bob Roller this at Campbell a couple of days ago, if that skill is even more important at your position of the industry than, say, at the Power 5 level, because you have to get it right. So I'm curious what you think about how you evaluate head coaches, how you've made hires, and you have some interesting ones across the board within your department, and how important that skill is for somebody at your level of the industry.
Well, let me just say, it's like anything. Most ADs are going to be evaluated on the head coaching hires and their success. And that it may be unfair that so much is put on that one particular aspect of the job, but I think that's a big part of it. I will tell you this, and I want to give credit where credit's due. My predecessor, Larry Leckenby, was actually the AD here when they hired Mike Houston from Lenore-Rhine. So I didn't actually hire Mike. He was hired by Larry and the staff then, and then Larry left, took the job at Catawba. And then I had a chance to work with Mike during his first football season here, and then the second one. And so I want to make sure that everybody knows that. I'm not taking credit for that because it was a great hire. And I think Mike Houston was a tremendous fit here for the Citadel. I will tell you, because of the timing of when Mike was being recruited away and was looking at the James Madison opportunity, we felt like we didn't have any time to waste. And I had already been, as soon as Mike had said, "Hey, Jim," he said, "I may have an opportunity I'm going to take a look at." I appreciated his candor and honesty. I started thinking about a short list and looking around, and it really came down to I found 2 assistant coaches here, the offensive and defensive coordinator, I thought were both quality individuals, both ready for a shot. And even before Mike had left to go on the final interview up at JMU, I had actually set up interviews with a committee with both of those candidates. In fact, I was interviewing both of those candidates, and we got done with the second one, and I just got done. I got a phone call from Mike Houston, and I went outside the room, and that's when Mike told me that he was going to accept the job at JMU. So you're thinking, you mean I started interviewing candidates before the head coach even resigned? I did, because I felt like I got 2 quality guys here. We don't want to miss a beat when it comes out. If he does leave, we want to make sure that we can keep the recruiting class together. I felt really good about the quality of the 2 candidates that were in-house. And I'm a big believer, if you can hire somebody internally, why not? Why wouldn't you? And I think that motivates the rest of your internal staff, that you're going to always look in-house first. And so that's what we did. Turns out that was a good decision. Brent Thompson has had an amazing first year as a head coach, and we're so proud of him and the work that he did. And between Coach Houston and Coach Thompson, we've had the 2 best football seasons in the history of our institution. So we're really proud of it.
And you have a unique setup from a men's basketball standpoint, too, and Coach Balcom and the type of style he runs. And we should say that offensively, I guess for football, you guys have been running the triple option, right? And then men's basketball plays this hyper up-tempo, shoot a lot of 3 style that Coach Balcom, popularized a little bit at VMI. Does alternative styles fit best at the Citadel, and if so, why?
Well, wonderful question, and I can tell you this. As I looked at all the history of Citadel football, when the Citadel won the most games in its history, we were always running the triple option. So to me, I go, okay, well, that's not an aha moment, but it reconfirmed that there's a reason why that style of offense works at places like a military academy. And I'll reference Navy, obviously, and Air Force. Army, I think, has looked at a lot of different offensive styles of play over the years and haven't quite found their niche in terms of, the one-loss record, but certainly Air Force and Navy have. And so that has seemed to work here as well. So I think it attracts a certain style of player, one that maybe is a little bit undersized. For one thing, I think it's not in vogue to line up and run the triple option all over America. So the player who best fits our style of play. There's probably more of them out there that aren't getting recruited by the big boys and by the people running, the most in vogue offensive styles today. So I think that's why it works for Navy. It's why it works working for Air Force and us. And so I think it's really important. If you're going to be undersized, if you're going to be underskilled, then you better have a style of play, both offensively and defensively, that make it hard for people to prepare for in a week's worth of preparation. I think, as an example, when we open up with people, we typically have a little bit harder time because they've had an entire off season and or preseason to get ready for our style of play. Once we get into a regular season game, when someone's had 5 or 6 practices, they don't do nearly as well against this style. So I think you're always looking for what's your winning edge, and at a school like the Citadel, in a military academy, it works really, really well. So to your point about Duger, I mean, when after Chuck had left here and I was looking for who was going to be our next basketball coach, I did a thorough study of all the different military colleges in the country and what's the best one-loss record over the last 10 years. It happened to be Duger at VMI. I'm like, well, okay, so why does he have the best record? It came down to he's running the equivalent of the triple option, but he's doing it an up-tempo style.
Mm-hmm.
And he just happened to have beaten us 3 times that same year, once at their place, once at the All-Military Classic at a neutral court, and then once at our place. And then I realized, and I did some more research, and he had led the country, I think, 6 out of 10 years in a row at the Division I level in scoring. So I'm thinking, wow, how does a guy do that at a military school? And it comes down to he's running the equivalent of a triple option. It's so different and so unique that it gives him a chance to do something that we probably couldn't do if we did what everybody else did.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.